hold on.
Can you let the woman
Go
at
ahead.
this table please
Go ahead. You
finish?
interrupted me. I was talking here. You interrupted me. So
What I will tell you.
we're devolving into this fetish, this cult, this hatred against Elon Musk. I don't know.
It's
but
none of those
Yeah,
things.
yes, it is, though,
Yes, it
because
is.
every single thing
No,
about
it
Elon
isn't.
Musk has now resulted in people burning elected officials. Elon Musk is part of the fetish.
Hold on
about
a
this
second,
guy.
both Sarah
You're all
and
obsessed
Joe.
with this guy.
Joe, just a second. What evidence do you have
that there's a fetish. It's bizarre.
not a fetish.
There's an
New York
obsession.
Times
It's an
reported.
obsession.
It's a
This is
concern
New
for our
York
national
Times
security.
reporting.
We
We
can
can
just
just
bring
bring
this
this
up.
up out of
I learned a lot about the
Let's
New
take a
York
step
Times
back for a
reporting.
moment.
This isn't about sexual.
Congressman Lawler is not going to criticize him because Elon Musk is a major donor to Congressman Lawler's re-election campaigns, and that's the problem. We don't have Republicans
Is
in
that
Congress.
true, Congressman
Yes,
Lawler?
it is very
That
true.
he's a major donor to
We-
your campaigns?
Not directly.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. These MAGA pundits, they say things that can be just so exposing and revealing sometimes. Check this out and we'll talk about it.
Are you concerned about the fact that he would be given a briefing about war plans? I mean, these are literally the most sensitive of secrets. And yes,
Well, considering that the
just a
United
moment,
States-
because just because you have a security clearance, as you know, doesn't mean that you have access to everything. Security clearances at the highest level are on a need-to-know basis, documents like this in particular. And so the need to know is the question here, and the conflicts on the other side of that ledger, which is someone who has business interests in the relevant country and also has competition interests trying to kick other contractors potentially out of contracts for these very war plans. Is that concerning?
Look, again, any conflicts of interest should be addressed. But in the case of, obviously, Starlink, we see the United States military is utilizing Starlink with respect to military plans. The United States Navy uses it significantly. Obviously, when you're talking about issues pertaining to China and their expansion in the Indo-Pacific, the threats against Taiwan, obviously, these are significant issues. So, look, any conflict should be addressed, no question about that. But it is the secretary and the president that actually have the authority to provide the need to know.
They do, but it
they
doesn't
are the
mean
ones
that
that will make
it's
the
wise,
decision.
Congressman.
So notice Congressman Lawler did not answer the yes or no question. Should this be concerning? Yes, absolutely. Elon Musk is trying to be the real-life Tony Stark, and we can see him coming a mile away. We don't trust Elon Musk. That's why the American people are up in arms in protests and in town halls in Republican districts across the country. They are pissed off based on what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing, firing tens of thousands of workers only for the courts to reverse the firing. This is absolutely a conflict of interest, but the Trump administration and Elon Musk, they don't care. Elon is trying to be the first trillionaire, and he wants to be an oligarch that not just controls American governments, he wants to control world governments. And Congressman Lawler is not going to criticize him because Elon Musk is a major donor to Congressman Lawler's re-election campaigns, and that's the problem. We don't have Republicans in Congress.
True, Congressman
Yes,
Lawler?
it is very
That
true.
he's a major donor to your campaigns?
Not directly.
I just want to make sure
No, not directly to my campaign. He had a independent expenditure that he spent on dozens of congressional races.
Second biggest
I'm not the only one that's bought. There's other Republicans that are bought. You see how he stood there and barely moved? Like what? She wouldn't call on you if you thought she couldn't see you if you didn't move? And I looked this up. I think he got 1.6 million, 1.2 million, something like that. I mean, think about it, guys. There's a clear conflict of interest here. And this is the problem with the Republicans and Elon Musk, is that he's already threatened that if anyone goes against his and Trump's plans, that he's going to primary them and he's going to use as much money as possible to get them out of office. And these guys, we're talking about Republican men, the weakest of the weakest.
But this is the problem,
after Donald Trump.
We're devolving into this fetish, this cult, this hatred against Elon Musk. I don't know.
It's none of those
Yeah,
things.
yes, it is, though,
Yes, it
because
is.
every single thing
No,
about
it
Elon
isn't.
Musk has now
think
resulted in
this
people
story-
burning Teslas in
Yeah,
major
hold on a
cities.
second. This story is
Pay attention to how many times that weirdo says fetish.
not about any of those things. This is actually a basic story about national security.
Right.
About whether or not someone who has the interest in for example, other contractors who have access to Pentagon dollars having access to special information that they don't
you
have
not
and
think
taking them out of their
CEOs
contracts.
and executives
And he
at
has
Raytheon,
business
at
with a
Boeing,
government
at
that
Northrop
we have
Grumman are
described.
not involved?
We have when our defense contractors get these big contracts, they cannot have other contracts with other foreign adversaries. That's a national security issue.
Yeah, and
Understood,
also-
understood. However, again, this is someone whose products, his innovations, right, are being used by the American military as we speak. This is someone who the government relied on to rescue 2 astronauts from space because no one else could do it. Maybe I'm the crazy one at the table, but I'm actually comfortable with someone who is incredibly effective at putting small objects and large objects into orbit over China.
Are you
I'm actually
comfortable?
very
Are you comfortable with potentially?
Is this guy an idiot? I'm sick and tired with this astronaut stuff. Elon Musk they think that Elon Musk is somewhere in a factory building a rocket and doing anything to get that technology forward. He just hires actual geniuses. He's not doing anything. He just has the money to do it. If I had the money, I could buy a company like SpaceX and do the same thing. These guys act like he went up there and flew up there in a robot suit and grabbed the astronauts that came back down. Like Humpty Dumpty, this might work on your right-wing followers that are brainless lemmings, but everyday people, they hear this stuff and you sound like an idiot. This is really the argument you came with on live television?
Elon Musk showing these plans or giving intelligence
insane. You're
to
just
China.
making that
I'm
up.
not.
You're saying
I am
he's
not.
gonna
I am
he's
saying
gonna take
that
a
is
cell
why.
phone
That
taking
is why, as
He's
Abby was
hacking
saying,
our
hold
data as we
on,
speak.
Abby.
That's
This
just
is why Abby
conjecture
was
and-
saying it's on a need-to-know basis.
But
It's a
this is-
need-to-know
this
basis
is-
because only a handful of people have this information. Not only that, I was a former Justice Department
Right.
official up until 2 months ago, and I had a security clearance. What I will tell
And
you
you're
is,
living
I
up
was.
to my
Oh,
fetish
and
point
hold on,
about Elon Musk.
can you let the woman
Go
at
ahead.
this table,
That's right.
please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Finish?
You interrupted me.
Fetish
I was
again, he
talking
used
to you. You
fetish.
interrupted me, so-
What I will
It's
tell
a
you is that
conversation.
it is
She's
so
allowed to talk.
the Pentagon. What is happening here, and everyone needs to be scared, is Pentagon officials are sounding the alarm. This doesn't just happen on its own. This has happened because career officials within the Pentagon are terrified and they believe that there is a conflict of interest. That is why it is in the New York Times, because I am sure they took it to the senior most people within the White House and within the Pentagon, and they didn't do anything about it. And when people asked me when I left the Justice Department, how do we know that there is something unethical happening here? And I said, it will be the career officials within the Justice Department who will sound the alarm if something happens.
Just
That
go
is
back.
exactly,
So by the way, where were those
that is
career
exactly
officials?
what is happening
Where were
right
those
here.
career officials when Joe Biden was basically incoherent as president of the United States, and you had officials within the White House running the show, creating a disaster all around the globe? Where were those career?
He was not creating a
bureaucrats?
disaster.
Oh,
This is
really?
a national
you
security.
Think, you think
This is
that
a
what
national-
happened by allowing China to purchase Iranian petroleum to the tune of $200 billion and funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis was not a disaster? Are you kidding me?
Go back to
I
this.
think,
Do you
this
really
is-
think
this
that
is-
Elon Musk is going to sell?
I cannot believe you are.
Republicans just say scary words.
Scary word.
just saying
Oil.
scary words.
Guys,
You
one
don't
second.
think he
One
robbed
second.
us?
Let me let Sarah get in here.
The
and
issue
then
is just that there
we'll
is
circle
not
back
a
to what was
uniform
said.
understanding of whether or not we trust Elon Musk, right? Like, clearly, you think that it's just crazy that Democrats don't trust him.
You trust the CEO of
I'm not-
Raytheon?
but here's what I would say up to that. That is the clear issue. So if Elon Musk was an elected official, the Americans could, with their vote, decide whether or not he's someone that they trust with America's national security. Because they didn't get to vote him in, that's why I think you're seeing a lot of this uproar. Typically, a lot of career officials, they're not necessarily elected, but a lot of career officials work their way up, and Americans trust them because they put the time, effort, and
clear,
energy into public
The
service.
executives
That
at
is where
other
the
defense
frustration
contractors
is. They don't have
are also
contracts
not
at other
elected.
businesses.
So,
So,
also
and
not
just
elected.
one
Let
more
me take a
thing
quick
on
step
the
back.
media
This
side.
elected
just
official,
like
Elon
on the
Musk, is
media,
part of
one
the
other thing-
fetish.
Hold on a
This
second,
guy.
both
You're
Sarah
all
and
obsessed
Joe.
with this guy.
Joe, just a second. What
Yeah, just a second. Humpty Dumpty acts dumber than he looks. He knows Elon Musk has control of the government more than even Trump has. And to be clear, Trump has approved all of this, obviously, or he would put a stop to it. And this is what cultists hate most. Any critique of their daddies, now they have 2 daddies, is not allowed. And when they have no defense, think about it. This guy prepared to be on the show today, right? This is how he prepared this fetish argument. When they have no defense, they get personal. And I really don't like to get personal until they get dirty. If you get dirty, I'll get dirty. And this whole thing about constantly saying, there's a reason why he keeps saying fetish. You guys have a fetish for Elon Musk. It's the same thing with the Trump derangement syndrome. Really? We have the fetish. Not the guys with the homoerotic obsession fantasy that these strong men like Elon and Trump are going to save us all. Such strong men that we need. Really? We have the fetish? You guys call Trump daddy. If you don't believe me, look up Byron Donalds. But we have the fetish, right? This is the same party that want no women in the workplace and obsesses over trans people, which there's less than 1% of them. There's like a 0.5% of the population is trans people. And they obsess over this. But we have the fetish? Really, Humpty Dumpty? Let me know if there's something there in the comments. They constantly bring up these weird terms. They get personal. They get very offended. That was a meltdown.
Evidence do you have that the CEO, let's just say Raytheon, since you keep bringing it up,
I'm just
has business conflicts in China?
I don't know, but Boeing sells airplanes to China and they're a defense contractor.
What is the business conflicts on the military side? Do you have any evidence of that?
No, I have more evidence probably of that than she does, that Elon Musk is going to snap a picture
I
of
don't have
his
evidence.
iPhone.
I'm saying this is a concern that was raised in the New York Times article.
If you have that evidence, then what is it?
Again, there's probably... We could do it on the break, right? We can Google it on the break.
I guess what I'm trying to
she's
say
making
here.
The point
what I'm
that
trying to
make
here,
is that there's a fetish. It's bizarre.
It's not a fetish.
The New York Times reported.
It's a concern for our national security.
We can just bring this up out of
I learned a lot about
Let's take a step back for a moment.
Hang on a second. One at a time. Go ahead.
There's something wrong with him.
We are sitting here on March, what is this? 20th. Whatever date it is, talking about a potential war with China on the same day that the Department of Education was shut down and hungry, poor children across this country may not be able to have school lunches and breakfast in school.
I don't know what
that hurts their learning. Let me tell you what that has to do with it. Our priorities during this dictatorship and this oligarchy are completely screwed up. It's a military-industrial complex, it's a corporatocracy, and it's Elon Musk who is stealing from the government, going into federal offices, downloading data. We have no idea what the hell he's doing with the data. This is why Americans are up in arms, not just Democrats. Americans are up in arms across the country because we don't trust Elon Musk.
Let me just add one more.
The New York Times reported this, man.
And Jamal, just give me 1 second here, because the other element of this that is raised in the story is the potential that this has to do with Doge cuts, that Elon and Doge are looking to make dramatic cuts to the Pentagon and don't understand the military importance of some of these programs that they're looking to cut. On top of that, Elon has been particularly critical of certain contracts. Again, contracts where he stands to benefit if his competitors are pushed out. And that part of it, should he be making decisions about what to cut if he does not have a fundamental understanding of why they are needed? And no, you don't need to know what the war plans are in order to understand how the military uses its contracts and its supplies to prepare for a war with any entity, including China.
So, first of all, I've heard my Democratic colleagues for years talk about the need to downsize the Pentagon and downsize the spending.
I don't think that's the question. I think the question is
Abby, let me
how
finish,
and
please.
who. That's the point that I was trying to get at.
Okay, well, the how and who is going to be determined by the department and by Congress. But here's the bottom line. My Democratic colleagues have argued for years that the Pentagon is too big, that we need to downsize the size and the scope of the Pentagon. And so you're sitting here now arguing, saying, well, Elon Musk is trying to cut the size of the Pentagon. Well,
no.
If he is going to go in and make recommendations to the Secretary of Defense, which is what the administration has outlined in the last few weeks, they had that cabinet meeting, and the president made clear Elon Musk's role is to advise, to make recommendations. The cabinet secretaries are the one who is going to make the determination. So if he's meeting with Pete Hegseth...
The only reason I'm stepping in is because I think you're mischaracterizing my question to you.
No, I'm not mischaracterizing
No. What I'm asking you...
Pete Hegseth invited him to the...
What I'm asking you is, if you say, I think you're right, it is up to Congress. It should be probably up to the Pentagon, civilian and military leadership to understand what the needs are. That would be fine, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Elon and Doge, who have no understanding of these systems, stepping into that conversation. And I'm asking you whether you think that's appropriate.
Well, actually, the way the Department of Government Efficiency has been established, they do have career staff as part of it within each department. And they are working closely within the leadership of each department and with the Department of Government Efficiency to identify specific efficiencies and savings. What the president has said.
This clearly suggests that he doesn't have a basic understanding of it, which is why he needs a top. He needs. Well, the article suggests that the reason for the briefing is because they need him to understand why, for example, building ships is important in a potential war.
Let me help.
Right.
Let me help
So
the
if he doesn't
congressman.
understand that,
He's taking a very long
hold
time.
on, Jamal, just give me a second here, because I just want to finish this and we got to go. If in fact he doesn't understand this, why is it that he's involved in these conversations if the only way to get him to understand is to give him a top secret briefing?
Well, again, within each department and agency, he is meeting with the secretaries. He is meeting with top officials within each department and agency as they are coming up with the recommendations, as they are going through all of the data, all of the information to make the appropriate recommendations. Should he not be meeting with the cabinet secretary?
No.
I mean,
listen,
ultimately,
one quick
this
point,
is not. This is not a meeting with cabinet secretaries. We're talking about a briefing
well, no,
on.
Pete
We're
Hegseth
talking about
invited him to come meet.
All right. What the article is talking about a briefing that Pete Hegseth himself only got last week, and it was finished on Wednesday. He literally is getting this information for the very first time, and he is the defense secretary. And now 2 days later, Elon is getting that information. That doesn't surprise you at all?
Can I just say one quick thing? The Pentagon.
There you go.
The Pentagon has failed audits for several years. If Doge was looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, you start there. The Pentagon
so then you should be happy. You should be happy that Elon
tens
Musk
of
is going
billions
there.
of dollars.
Sounds like you agree with her.
But
you
he
should
didn't
be
start
happy
there.
then.
He didn't start there. He started at the Treasury with 19-year-old kids hacking America's data. Then he went to Social Security.
They weren't hacking.
USA.
I don't know if you're saying he wasn't doing a good enough job.
We don't know what he's doing.
I guess we should
All
burn a
right.
Tesla.
We got to leave it there. Sarah Fisher.
And these guys are such fools. And like Humpty Dumpty, maybe the reason Musk is brought up so much is because he's running around laughing and cutting working class American jobs with a chainsaw. This is the richest man of the world. He's getting into fights with Trump cabinet members about not firing what he deems enough DEI hires. This racist, bigoted piece of crap. Or maybe it's calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, and now people are seeing cuts with access to Social Security buildings or staff in general for help with claiming their benefits. How about the Nazi salute? Not once, but twice for those who missed it. And instead of apologizing about it, just jokes about it, mocks people. I mean, maybe it's the fact that everyday Americans are still struggling, can't afford bills, can't afford groceries. They get rewarded with a nice big tariff that would increase their costs even further. But Elon Musk starts doing bad with his stock, and he gets an infomercial about his cars. And people saying, you should buy Tesla stock. It's only going to do great. While Elon's own brother and other executives are selling shares like wildfire. These people are gross. Republicans, how can you not see that the fraud, waste, and abuse, this cultish chant you guys keep saying, is right in front of you? It's the billionaires that are stopping you from getting that house or from starting that little business idea that you want to start. You're being played. They use your hate and anger against you over and over and over again. They see you as brain dead lemmings. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please subscribe if you're not. I really appreciate that. And I'll catch you in the next one.